It starts with the Mesiris Nefesh of Shema Yisrael, when a Yid learns Shema v'yis darf zu sein. And the Indian of Shema Yisrael is biz b'chol meidech, b'chol nafsho, b'chol meidech, biz Mesiris Nefesh. And when a Yid starts off with this, is me'emasai, then he can attain the proper Yiras Hashem. The Rebbe also brings a minig to make. And obviously those who are here in the city are pater. Frekte Gemara, Adirab, Hani Anisi, Hani Loyanisi, Efshef Vakert, those who are out in the field, they had no choice. They couldn't come to davening, so therefore he says that they're yaitza. But that's not a kal v'chaymer, that those are close by in the city should be pater. They should have come into shul and daven like a mensch. And I'll bring you a proof. The Tani Abba B'Reder Rabin Yamin Barchia Amsha Acheri Kayanim Einam B'chlal Bracha. We find Taka by Berkas Kayanim, there's a chiyuv to be facing the Kayanim, and if you're to the sides, to the back of the Kayanim, you're not Yaitza. But those who are Amsha B'Sadis, those who are out in the field, are Yaitza, even if they're miles away, and even if they're behind the Pashtos, because they're Anusim, they have no choice. Those that are in the shul, we say you have to follow the Shulchan Aruch, and you have to stand in front, and if not, you're not Yaitza. Elakiyasa, Ravin, when Ravin came from Babel, Amar Rab Yaakov Bar Idi, Amar Rab Shimon ben Chasida, Le Pater, Rabban Gamliel, Ela Am Shebesades Take, Rabban Gamliel only patered those who are out in the field. My taima mishum dani sibim lacha. Because they're anusim, they have to do their business, have to earn a livelihood, and they can't come into shul, so they're yetzer with the chazan. Avol ba'ir, loy. Those who are here in the city need to come into shul and daven v'ayid. Hadin alach yamtev v'sluk ala mesachas Rosh Hashanah. Hadin alach mesachas Rosh Hashanah, v'hadin alach daitin alach mesachas Rosh Hashanah, v'daitin alach l'nisn sheminach mesachas Rosh Hashanah, v'lisn sheminan le'vam adin v'le'vam adasi. Hadin alach mesachas Rosh Hashanah, v'hadin alach daitin alach mesachas Rosh Hashanah, v'daitin chalan l'nisn sheminach mesachas Rosh Hashanah, v'lisn sheminan le'vam adin v'le'vam adasi. Hadin alach mesachas Rosh Hashanah, v'hadin alach daitin alach mesachas Rosh Hashanah, v'hadin alach l'nisn sheminach mesachas Rosh Hashanah, v'lisn sheminan le'vam adin v'le'vam adasi. Ratzu v'menach shdei shtei raz v'nesein me'lam azavadim hey imanu le'em abba. Hanina b'papa Ram b'papa Cham b'papa Nachman b'papa Chay b'papa Abba b'papa Mari b'papa Rav b'papa Achash b'papa Surcha b'papa Adar b'papa Dar b'papa Harim so bin gam so ni achn zel gam so kann ich jedes machen das mein wird ich nehmen so Sache gel mit so man lebe schnell nicht mit der keisani barakhat hat nehmen ich gacha amin am sel meid man achn Allah schätzt am tag kein mir ist wir man schon samt am kein mir ist kann schon was geben man machim lele der machim lele man betel man ana mel mit kabels gabe mel mit kabels gabe rat man rat man im rat man ber shachas shnem at alle him teri dem ber shachas an man man yaftach bach rat in das jahr sein sagt der shachas kinder den lasum sagt das werden wir kein sein little mit lashes and little my lashes kommen wir sagen aber so ist gerade nehmen wir haben wir haben mit lanu lazari schon haben schon term pm ist gerade sind dann die was sagen das sagen wir machen wir sind gleich rein er so wir haben man sind nein wir gesami und schon Skadal vi skada shmeid aba vi yom adver khurus evi amach machos evi atzmach berkane vi kare mishiche khaye khayne vi mekhne khaye do khobes isra ba galov iz man kare vi mro amen yehesh meid aba mevarach li al amalom yom ma yis barach vi shtabach vi sbar besem mis na se vi sador vi salavi salosh med kucha bericho li lam gav khas avi shira sa tuj khas ben khama sa damiram bi yom vi mro amen na yisrael vi araban mal tamiden mal kol tamiden samiden mal komandas kan berai sa di vasa de mi khal sa vasar ye loin ul khain shlam rabakhin vi khizda berachmin khain arikhin zain revi khaf kanam min kadam ben vi shmaya vi mro amen yehesh lam rab min shmaya am dev malin mal kol yisrael vi mro amen Es shalom bim dai ma vias shalom aleinu v'alkol Yisrael v'imru amen. We'll give out l'chaim and zog and l'chaim and then after that we'll zog and after.
That's what he said. Every single time he spoke about it.
Yeah, but practice pretty great, according to the story.
Yeah, l'chaim, l'chaim.
It's also in the name.
Several have Hushkins. You were
Yeah.
My wife under certain conditions it was punishment. So I didn't argue.
Good investment. Good investment.
I should have bought the
Whole
whole
block. Whole block.
David, Rabbi Mangel, and we just make an announcement that it's the Bava Shema Gittel Mintzberg's yard site tonight.
What? Now? Okay, before I introduce Rabbi Mangel, just want to mention that tomorrow is the yard site of the Baba, Shene Gittel, Oleh HaShalom, and something which we should remember. I didn't have the merit, the schus to really know her, because I was 3 years old, I think, when she passed away. Huh? You hear? Now you hear? They want to hear in Australia. Okay, today I mentioned that tonight, tomorrow is the yard site of Baba Shene Gittel, Oleh HaShalom. So we should keep that in mind and say l'chaim for her neshama as well. L'chaim. L'chaim. Whenever I would ask my father how he's doing, what's happening in Crown Heights. So very, very often he would say, well, he just came back from a shiur, Ksav Sofer. Rabbi Mangel just gave a Gemara shiur, a Halacha shiur, and he would always say it with such happiness. And as I just mentioned to Rabbi Mangel shortly, I said that he would always say Rabbi Mangel is a peh mapik margolius, a mouth that pours out with gems, with diamonds. And I had the schus to grow up with Rabbi Mangel and his family. As Rabbi Mangel just mentioned, the first tenants that we had on 606 was Rabbi Mangel and his family. I still remember they would invite me, his boys would invite me downstairs. I was stuck with 3 girls. So Rabbi Mangel's boys would say, come downstairs, you'll play with us. We were tremendous machnise erchim, and I had a great time with them. And So without further ado, I would like Rabbi Mangel to say a few words in honor of the Shloshim of my dear father, Rabbi Mangel.
I hope you don't mind if I'll be sitting. Yes, can I sit?
Yeah.
Okay. Chaim l'chaim. It's a Milik Israel that the Shloshim, they finished the Mishnayos. Shisha Siddur Mishnah. Mishnah is oisius in the Neshama. It's a gewaltige Skule for the Neshama when the children finished the Mishnayos. It's Aliyas HaNeshama. And as we saw tonight, both of their sons finished the Shisha Siddur Mishnah. In addition to the Gemara also. At least briefly, I'd like to connect. Everything is hinted in the Torah. The connection between the Parshas HaShavua, Parshas Truma, the Siyum HaMishnayos, Rabbi Yosef, Ben Zion, Friedman HaKohen, and we hope soon will be Bias HaMashiach, Chis HaMesim, we will see him back. To connect all these four inyonim, the Parshas HaShavua, Mishnayos, the Neshama of Rabbi Ben Zion, and also Bias HaMashiach. The Seder starts, and the name of the whole Seder is Truma. Truma, as the Mefarshim say, Truma is a composition of two words, Teire Mem. The Balaturim and many Mefarshim bring this Rosh Teves, these two words. Teire Mem. Truma stands for Teire Mem. What does it merames? The Teire, which Moshe went up to Shemaim to receive the Teire, and he was there for 40 days. So that's why Teire Mem, Teire which was given after 40 days. But the Shaila can be asked, Moshe went up for the Teire twice, not only once. For the first Lucha, he went once the first time for 40 days. And then in between, he went another second time, but it was only for the Kapore, for the Cheto Egel. But the second time, which was the third time for Moshe, we went up for another 40 days to receive the Luchas HaAchronos. So Teire Mem should be not Teire Mem, Teire Pei. So by Teire Mem, since we have the Klal, Teire, Chumish, Teire Beklal, is everything only in general, a klolisdik, and Teire Shebal Pei is the protisdik, more specific, more particular. For example, from Teire Shebiksa, we don't exert at all how we have to observe Shabbos. From Teire Shebiksa, we don't know at all how to fulfill that mitzvah of Tefillin. Comes Teire Shebal Pei, as Mefarish and amplifies and elaborates the mitzvah. Likewise also, in Teire Shebiksav, it's Beklal Teire Mem, comes the Mishnayos, which was just said. David said the Sof of the Mishnayos. Yossi said the beginning of the Mishnayos. The Sof of the Mishnayos ends with a Mem. The beginning of Mishnayos starts with a Mem. These are the two Mems that the Mefarshim say. The Moshe Rabbeinu went up in Teire Shebal Pei is more Be'archove. In Teire Shebiksav on Teire Mem, he is twice a Mem. The first time Moshe Rabbeinu went up for 40 days, and the second time Moshe Rabbeinu went for 40 days. It's also a Minik Israel. We make a connection between the Hascholes for the Teire and the end, Maschilin, im Sefer im Betrilosoi, make at the Sof of the Mishnayos, connecting with the beginning of the Mishnayos. Just superficially, both the end ends with a Mem, and the beginning begins with a Mem, but there's many, many more inyonim how we can mechaber, connect. The end with the beginning and the beginning with the end. Here I'd like to bring in that Ben Zion is the Chakoyen. The beginning and the end deals with Kohanim. For example, the beginning of Mishnayos. Meim es kohen shma be'arvin, Kohanim, but the Kohanim lechnosim lechel betruma. It immediately speaks about Kohanim and then from Truma. And this is connected with the Parshas HaShavua, Truma. So this is the beginning. Where do you find Kohanim at the end? Is as mentioned before in the Siyum. The Mishnah ends with Sholem. Sholem is that last word from Birchas Koyanim. For Yovrecha, Hashem Yishmerecha. The very last word von Birchas Koyanim is as with the von Sholem. So this is different Birchas Koyanim, different Koyanim. And I can tell you, maybe Yossi saw it, maybe David also saw it. Ben Zion had a gewaltige Chayes in Birchas Koyanim. Always we said all kind of pshatim. He told me from his father. I told him pshatim. But every Shabbos, a pshat in Birchas Koyanim. Kind of have to make the brachas Bahava to Havas Israel, but we need for Koyanim. And this day from Birchas Koyanim, tak it whole Seder Mishnayos ends with Birchas Koyanim, the for Sholem. There's another pshat also. Why the Mishnah begins with a mem, ends with a mem. The Chazal tells us in Shabbos, why do we don't have every oisius, a double ois? Mem, we have a simple ois and a shloshim mem. So the Gemara says in Shabbos, the first mem is maimer pasuach, and the final mem is maimer sosum. Maimer means that in the Gemara, maimer is like memre, a teaching. The first maimer is merames, so nigle teire. Maimer pasuach is open nigle to nigle teire. In maimer sosum is the from sosum steamer. Ros in the rice, sos in the rice. This is the second maimer is for the nisle teire, and we can see a very beautiful Shabbos pshat. The first mem, the beginning is maimer pasuach nigle teire. The last mem is nisle teire. In Nigletered is hordes and hordes of machlokesen. The whole Shas, with Machshakim, Hayvani, in the very first Mishnah, Rab Gamliel says this, Rab Lezer says this, Rab Shammai says this, of machlokes. Throughout, you can't go one Mishnayis, or one Mesechte, or throughout only machlokes. So this is Mami, Nigletered is still for the machlokes. We become, so Nisa the Teire is Mami Sosum. What's Mama Sosum? The word ends Sholem. As the Alter Rebbe brings down from Reim Mehem from the Zohar, in Pnimis HaTeire, in Chassidus and Kabbalah, less damon, like Kashe, Veloy Stire, and in the middle all this machlokes, and there's no machlokes. So that's why the Sholem, the last mem is Sholem, because this is Merames, Nisle Teire, Mama Pasuach, Mama Sosum, and then for Sholem, in Pnimis HaTeire is all less machlokes, less Stire, and less Kashes. Rabbi Zion always had a nice word. Let me tell you some rumors in the Gemara. By Shloshim, the Neshama is still here and can still hear a word of Beredo. You have to be very careful what we speak, not to exaggerate. But Rabbi Zion liked to hear a shenem word, a shenem touch. So let me tell you, Rabbi Zion, a shenem word. Was this verbunden? It's connected with Mashiach. The Tzemach Tzedek. When the Mittler passed away, Tzemach Tzedek was quite young. The Alter Rebbe passed away, the Mittler passed away. Who should be Memale Mokim? For the Alter Rebbe and Mittler Rebbe, obviously Tzemach Tzedek. So eventually at the beginning he didn't want to accept the mantle of Nesiah's leadership of Chabad. Eventually they persuaded him that he has to become the Nossi, the Memale Mokim. But he was still young, and still had Chassidim von the Mittler Rebbe, and had Chassidim yet von the Alter Rebbe, von the Zikne Anash, Arisha Bachabure, Gdoilim Rosh, Kodesh Balamovsim, the Alter Rebbe's Chassidim. How can they make Kabul, the Alter Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek is their Rebbe, when they remembered him when he was a little boy playing the with sand outside in the field? So the first, at the beginning, the Zikne, the Arisha Bachabure, didn't want to accept the Tzemach Tzedek. The more the Tzeirim, the younger ones, did accept the Tzemach Tzedek as their Rebbe, but not the older ones, the Mittler Rebbe's Chassidim, and especially the Alter Rebbe's Chassidim. Eventually, when they heard the Maimorim, the Verbrengens from Tzemach Tzedek, so they also were convinced to become the Mesa Rebbe. So the first Shavuos after the Kabbalah and the Siyas for Tzemach Tzedek, all the Zikna Nash, for the Zikna, the Zikani from the Alter Rebbe, the biggest Chassidim, came to the Tzemach Tzedek, and Mamash, they say, Yiftach HaShemayim, Yigula Baras HaLekim. They say, Baras HaLekim for the Malmorim, and the Siches, and for the Avodah from Tzemach Tzedek. So all became from the Zikna Nash, the Rebbe, Arisha Bachabure, all accepted, Belev Shalom, that Tzemach Tzedek is their Rebbe. Except there's one exception. Nehemia Dubravne was moirig great. We can see it from the Shalosh Chuvas, which he writes, the Tzemach answers him, the Hades HaKovet of who was the Nehemia Dubravne, you can see that's moirig great. Even for the Ari Shebachabulas, it was the Ari Shebari. And he didn't accept it. Tzemach didn't come Shuas to the Verbringen. When the great Chassidim, for Zikran of Chassidim, even from the Alter Rebbe, saw the Gadlus from Tzemach Tzedek, so then they decided, after Shavuos, they sent a Mishlachas, a little delegation, for the biggest of the Chassidim, for Zikran Anash, to the Nehemia Dubravne, and to tell him the time has come, and want to tell him who is the Tzemach Tzedek. The time has come, you should also accept Tzemach Tzedek as your Rebbe. As the biggest of the biggest, the Rive Shebachabur, Zikna Nash, came to Dubravne. As they knocked on the door and entered the room, the Nehemia said, Rabbi Yisai, you don't have to tell me anything. Let me tell you. You don't have to tell me anything. Let me tell you. Last night, I had a chizoyen, a cholem with the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe came to me, and he said, Nehemia, why don't you have a Rebbe? The Mishnah says, Aseh lechorav, everybody has to have a Rebbe. Haitochen, you don't have a Rebbe. So he says, he answered to the Alter Rebbe, whom can I accept as my Rebbe? Chevre, to speak to the Alter Rebbe from Gan Eden, if he comes down to him, he wasn't a Balgaive. He knew his Madrege, and he felt there's nobody in this generation, not the Ruzhener. No. And Tzemach Tzedek, he thought, whom can I? He said to the Alter Rebbe, whom shall I be accept as my Rebbe? So the Alter Rebbe answered him. Avraham, that's what he says to the Chassidim, for the Ziknash, for the Harish Bechabura. The Alter Rebbe told him. So the Alter Rebbe told him, Avraham Avinu is as scholars for Tikkun. Rabbi said there's a lot of explanation what's Olam HaTikkun, and Moshe Rabashim, the reader, explain afterwards what's Olam HaTikkun. Now we come to Olam HaTorah now. So he says, Avraham is as scholars from Tikkun, Olam HaTikkun. Noach was pre-Tikkun. The Alter Rebbe wants to tell you, pre-Tikkun. And what's the name for Noach? Al Shem Zeh Yilachmeinu. He'll console us, he'll comfort us, he'll bring us Nechome. Noach comes Zeh Yilachmeinu. How do we make Noach in Tikkun? Nicht before Tikkun in Toyu. I never use the word Toyu. But use it, that's why I use it. Only a Tikkun. How do we make in Tikkun Noach? So the Alter Rebbe said to him, when you add a mem before the word Noach, which mem you add from the beginning of Mishnayos. From Amosai. You take the mem from the beginning of Mishnayos, add the word Noach. You take the last mem, which we just discussed, the last mem from Mishnah Sholem, and you add it to the end of the word of Noach, what you get? Menachem. And that Alter Rebbe said, Zeh Yilachmeinu, Menachem behoive. Menachem behoive, hu Yilachmeinu yehine Menachem beosit. She says, I understood what Alter Rebbe wants to tell me. You don't have to tell me anything. This coming Shabbos, they are going to Tzemach Tzedek. So then he accepted it. But Rabbi Yisai, what did Alter Rebbe tell him? Menachem behoive, this is a Menachem in the time from Tzemach Tzedek. Pipashus, Zeh Yilachmeinu, Menachem behoive beosit. Mashiach's Menachem Shmoi. His name is Menachem. Banan Basreya. Rabbi Likosh is also Menachem. So the Tzemach Tzedek, the Alter Rebbe said, Menachem behoive, we will say Menachem beosit. Is merely this in the pshat for the Mishnayos, which I'm sure that the B'tzion would have this for the Invertel, a nice, there's a Chasurach. Keheles, which the beginning of Keheles is Hakol Hevel. What's the end of Keheles? Soiv Dovar Hakol Nishmo, Yerei Elokim, Shomer Mitzvah, Shmoyer Mitzvah, on Zekol Odam. So what is Sof Kol Odam? Sof Kol. So the Chazal tell us that in Baltim Medrish, there comes the end of Odom. Hakol Nishma. What pshat Hakol Nishma is being heard? Hashem says to Malachim, go down, or and see what is nifter. A person passed away, sov dover. A person passed away. He's gone, sov dover. Hakol nishma. Hashem says to the Malachim, go down. Ruma habriyos oimrim olav. What do people speak about him? Odam kosher hoya. Yerushalayim hoya. If that's what people say, so said Medrash, miyat. Porcha mitosoi, porcha lishmosoi, porcha zulamaylo. The Shema goes immediately up to Gan Eden. We don't have to, everybody knows. When we speak, when the Malachim came and asked you and me, or anybody else in Crown Heights, who knew Ben Zion well. Odam kosher means, what the difference between Odam kosher? Odam Yerushalayim, Odam kosher ben Odam lechaveroi. How did we have to be Odam lechaveroi? Odam Yerushalayim ben Odam lamokayim. Without any doubt, it's a reality that you find that person and nobody should be able to say anything which is not good. Ask anybody about Zion Friedman. How did he treat other people? Is Yerushalayim Yechsides? What kind of Yerushalayim? Chassidis. So maybe we can say for sure. The Medrash says, Sovdo Hakol Nishma, from everybody can hear. And Zion is Odom Kosher Hoya, and also Yerushalayim Hoya. And Miyad Porcha Nishmosa, not only now, but Shloshim, immediately after the Stimas HaGeilo, when people were asked, who is Ben Zion Friedman, everybody would give them this information. So the Shema said, Porcha Nishmosa, immediately married to Gan Eden. But Shloshim is an additional, a higher aliyah. So maybe we can say again, Odom Kosher Hoya, Yerushalayim Hoya, is certainly as Porcha Nishmosa for Gan Eden, attacked the Gan Eden alien. Let me just conclude with a little Gemara. The Gemara says, Rabbi Yosef, berei for the Yeshua ben Levi. Cholash became sick. Visnagit and passed away. Passed away. And Hodor, and he turned. As we know the Baisai, this Tchias HaMesim, not only after Bisa Mashiach, Tchias HaMesim, we say in Shimon Esrei 3 times a day, V'atem B'chai Mesim, not lost it, V'atem B'chai Mesim, even now, these certain people, I can tell you my own family, my grandfather also with Tchias HaMesim, but anyways, it's a Moedik HaMesim. So the Gemara says, the Yosef Berei, the Yeshua ben Levi, Hodor, came back. So his father asked him, Machozis, what did we went up to Gan Eden, what did you see, the Shemayim, what did you see? So the Yosef says to his father, Yeshua ben Levi, what did I see? Olam hapach risi. I see a topsy-turvy, upside-down world. Elyonim lemato. Those are here, Elyonim, prominent, great people, there, lemato, and tachtonim, who are here, tachtonim here below, ordinary people, lemailo. She says to his father, oilam hapach reisi, a verkehrte Welt. Chas v'shel ma'amed shik, what kind of world it does? Those are here, great, Gdol Yisrael, or here, Gdol Yisrael, there, lemato, and Tosis brings down all kinds of moroim, but I don't want to mention the names. As the Gdol Yisrael, there, here are Gdol Yisrael, Lamailo, there Lamato. And here on the other hand, that those who are Lamato, are Lamailo. So what did Yeshua ben Levi answer him, told him? B'ni oilam borur yorisi. You see a world of clarity, of emes. Not the way what we see, that who is great and who is not great. Davke Lamailo see, the Alyonim Lamato, he also can be here very prominent. Are they Davke Lamato? And for care, those who are here, Lamato is the Lamailo. So let me just tell you, Bishim Sofik, Rabbi Zion Friedman was a Bashedener, a novice dicker, a person who didn't blow his horns. He was a big shot, a ish sherit, an ish poshet. Here Lamato, he wasn't from the Alamato, Blishim Sofik, those who are Tachtonim here are there Lamailo. And then the Gemara continues. He said, He said to his father, you shouldn't believe me. What did I hear? As Asher Misha Bolekam v'Talmudei beyodai. Happy is the person who comes to Gan Eden, and he doesn't come with an empty valise. Talmudei beyodai, his Talmud is learning. In Asher Misha Bolekam, Talmudei beyodai. As David said before, Ben Zion Friedman, every Shabbos, we finished davening 12:30. We made a Kiddush, we made a Svadus of a Brengen. It wasn't a Shabbos, till the very last Shabbos. He passed away on Friday, the Thursday went to hospital. Last Shabbos, he was still till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. His grandson, who is here, had to come pick him up from shul because he couldn't walk himself. Yossi brought him to shul. His grandson picked him up from shul. He remained every Shabbos till 3 o'clock. That when we gave a Gemara Shir, the Gemara Shir many times ended 10:30, 11:15, 11 o'clock. He was sitting there. He couldn't walk. His grandson or Yossi used to come to bring him home. He came never missed a Shir. And likewise also, ich meine Gemara Shirim, in Halacha Shirim, in Chassidus, and say the Verbrengens, but the Kedushin Verbrengens. Is Asher Misha Bole kan. He has a peckle which he can bring to the Milo. The Shaila is, Asher Misha Bole Talmud beyodai, and Forshimas the Kasha, Talmud, learning, is beyodai. Talmud is either beliboi, libero harbe chachme, Shlomo Melech says, or bepshatus beberoishai. How does the Talmud beyodai come? What the Talmud beyodai? So it's explained in Chassidus. Yad means information. It's not in a person learns of lacking in from Hidur mitzvahs, Yerushalayim. So we can say Talmud beyodai, what he learns also brings it down in a practical meiser. This again we saw this Hidur mitzvah is the Yerushalayim. That's from Ben Zion Friedman. Let me tell another pshat. Asher Misha Talmud beyodai, the Gemara says in Shabbos. The Gemara says it also in Ksubas. Eze Mas Yod of Shel Adam. What I call the Mas Yod of Shel Adam. So the Gemara says at the Ksubas and the Gemara Shabbos, Zeu Bonov u Benois of Shel Adam. We've been seeing in the Agode. V'amolenu, what harvet a mensch, for was harvet Ze abonim. The harvet, the Mas Yodenu. So the Gemara says, as Mas Yod of Shel Adam, this is the kinder, the bonov, and the kind, and the bonov and benoisov. Here we can also say, as Ashre Mishe Bolekam Talmud beyodai, he had aufgehoret children. Chsidim and Mashe Maise. Talmud beyodai didn't have only how many people learn your Shemains, but the kinder are drift away already. Nicht chas v'sholom. But by him, all his sons and his daughters are manch anshe meise on chsidim on mit ihr shemaims. So mele, this is Asher Misha Bolekam, a blishim sofik, as we said before. Parchanish Moses we began. The Chazal tell us, the Eib Sof Dover Hakol Nishmo, as the Kimi Rois, Mitzvah Shemar, Kezei Kolodom. B'shas comes to the end, Sof Kolodom. He passes away. So the Eib says to the Malachim, Re'u, go down and see what people speak. And when people say, Odom kosher hoyo, Yer Shamayim hoyo, miyat mitosoi, and nishmosoi, ruchoi porcha lamaylo to the Gan Eden. So Bishim Sofik, the same thing also by him. As Asher Misha Bolekam Talmud mit the kinder, as a home lamaylo, sach nach he, and his wife, from nachas von the kinder, and Kindskinder soll sein, Kinder ausgemet Torah mitzvahs.
Your assumption. It's funny that the guy is such a good translator is translating to language. How can that language? Somebody translation. I understand. Right. So what do but it's not only right. So it's hard to believe yeah, some of it is Lucas quotes were a little bit off. Some of the words will come out. Yeah. Many of the words. That's how you got a number.
Speaks very nicely about the whole case.
He didn't grow up in Islam as a teenager. He and his wife. But that one page is somebody could go.
So they write so
There's one page. They write, I'll tell you. Ancora questo sta.
Man, there's a good time for the album.
It's 3 years old.
Like if his father heard women speak, he was even like it was
Beyond. Beyond. There's a picture by you.
that mouth. Yeah.
Everybody wants to be loved. Remember that, guys. Yeah?
Somebody sending you a text.
Huh?
Good time. Sending him a text.
Send you a text.
Kevin is looking about that.
That's what I see. The Sachako.
Sav dava hakov nishma. That's it. Like I had the touch.
Rib roast. Cane Gadol. Take off your coat.
I said, you know what? You guys throw all this stuff in.
Show you.
Good. Say that. Don't last time. I forgot. There's no
Hey,
room.
come in. Go lay it.
There's so many things to think. Can you imagine if she spielt was a couple
Time to time and then sing the speeds. Finish
Show us Sadiq.
I know, but I can't.
So we came back I haven't had that.
Who's reading this? You sure?
How do you still have it?
Even busy people have to take vacation. I was on vacation.
He's coming back home.
Erstens mein Buch geweest.
Weißt du, wer der gewähnt der Scheich ist?
Ich bin der Chef.
Von der Helena Teil zu der Helena
Ah, serious.
Oh yeah, because he dominated.
Shred had a nickname from last week's fashion. Jason Motion.
The ink is the smile.
your Aaron's bed? What? Aaron's bed? I'm Aaron's bed. She shot him most of my wife many years ago. Like the best time now. She says, sorry, I got Aaron's best.
So the Schweigers ook?
No, my father. My Galiciano Bob. People don't appreciate the sex of Galiciano. I do.
What? They're not brothers. Hello?
He's a nurse. Went to mommy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Could be made bigger, I think.
Okay. Action. No, no.
broke Wotak in September 1940, I think. And when the war broke out, Rosh Hashanah, we couldn't go to shul any longer. So we davened in a big warehouse. And the house where we lived was across the street of the tracks, of the
train tracks.
The train tracks. And that was Przemysl was known as a transportation city. A lot of tracks. There was a bridge going over the tracks, and it's a lot. And that time the target was the train tracks. That was the main target from the Germans from when they bombarded. And we lived just across the street, and the other side was right a big division for the tracks. So in other words, that when the Germans bombarded Przemysl, we were the target. We came down, we davened there in the shul Rosh Hashanah, And in the middle of the davening, there is a big part of Yoser at the end of all the Yoseris. Lubavitch doesn't say it, but in the Machzor there is a big part of Yoser at the end that finishes off about takes 8-10 pages. When the Chazan came to that part, he decided he's going to skip this long. So we're going to skip. My father was there. He walked over to Chazan. No, you got to say this also. We must say that part. You cannot skip. So the owner, who gave us the warehouse where we davened, came over to my father. He didn't know my father. So he said, "Jüngermann, wo steht sich mit euch? Wir stehen doch hinter den Bombes. Wir bombardiert doch, wir warfen doch Bombes auf uns. Was wollt ihr haben von dem?" My father didn't blink, and he says to him, "Weil Jeden sind in einer Eiszure, darf du suchen." And later I found out that the Yotze is a school for Arichas Yomim.
How long is the interview? How long is the interview? Then the ganze Tag? So the whole thing? Mach ein Transkript.
Kansas? Peischend waren Malchus. You have to be careful here. Es ist ein schöner Elam da. Mit Betten jetzt, mit Sien Friedman von Heibschlier von Kansas City. So sagen ein paar Wörter, look over dem schwer.
The coverage that I'm getting is because we do share a name. Namen has been saying Kohen Friedman. We do share a name. And because of that, we had a special relationship. I thought I may see myself on the pictures, but whenever I'm in town, whenever I see Fatih Ben Sin, we're always together. We held hands by the chasnas, by the simchas. We were always together. Somehow there was a special bond between the Ben Sins. No, I'll sagen a word and connect it somehow with the parsha. First, we'll start with last week's parsha. Vorige parsha, it's angefangen, Ve'el ha-mishpatim asher tosim lifneihem. Sag gleich Rashi, Ve'el ha-mishpatim, how do we know that you have to put the Sanhedrin Eitzel ha-mizbeach? Mishpatim, that's doch von Dayanim. How do you know that Dayanim have to go Eitzel ha-mizbeach? So you look back in the previous parsha, it's of Yisrei, don't you will hisal lebemalis al mizbechi, sendigt sich mit mizbechi. The melos, you have to put the Sanhedrin next to the mizbeach. In Medrash Fanach, connections between hisal lebemalis al mizbechi, you're not allowed to step over people. Adayon, as it comes to nine late, he comes in late, the last one, everybody's sitting on the floor. He's not allowed to step over the people. Al Rashi Ha'am. Why? Because it says leisala b'malis. B'malis means in the heiche in Choshev mentioned. Don't just step over them. Don't go there. So they connected. There are many different connections. L'chura, there's a pashut connection, and that is leisala b'malis al mizbechi. Was gleich Rashi dort nafenord. As leisala b'malis al mizbechi. What's the difference between a step and a ramp? A ramp, you also have to pick up your feet. But a step, somehow, you have to pick up your feet a little bit more. And somehow it's a bizoyan for the ramp, for the kevesh, that you have to go up on the mizbeach. It's an embarrassment. It's not so tzniusdik. It's not so modest. As Rashi says, but nevertheless, on a step, it's still not covered. So Rashi says, how much more? So give a cook. A stick holz that doesn't know what's happening, and yet you have to show it so much respect because it's being used for a good purpose, for a holy purpose. How much respect you have to give him. So therefore, what's the next halacha? It fits right into it. So the first one is the Ksikna Avedivri. That's probably the hardest mitzvah that we have, that you have to show respect to somebody, which you don't really want to. Right? You have to buy yourself an Eved, you have to take in his wife, you have to take in his kids, and you have to give him the pillow, the one pillow in the house you have to give him, all the honors you have to give him, the Zelba Essa and everything. So the Torah is teaching you, even a person like that, was a fakait for an Eved, that gegambit, and Bezin sold him as an Eved, how careful you have to be with his honor. You have to be so careful in the honor, I feel, to an Eved. So therefore, that's the connection. You have to know, you have to respect that person. That's maybe why the reason is that we start with, of us that got the halacha, nach Matan Torah, is Kisikna Evedivri. Could have found a different mitzvah to start with. No, you have to start with Evedivri, a knecht. So versteht sich von a Sachberushim of them, but this is also one of them, because this shows you this is it's a very tough mitzvah to be able to show respect to somebody who you have no respect for. That's the greatest. That's the most important. That's what we expect from us. Respect for another Yid. It was already mentioned. I'm here now with the family for the first time. I wasn't here before. I heard some of the things that people would say. But I would have also said that Benzin always had a smile on his face. But on the other hand, my father, they called him Rabbi Friedman. If they ask about Rabbi Friedman, what would people say? He always had a smile on his face. But you find something in Vetter Benzin that you didn't find by Tati. And that is, Vetter Benzin had gelacht. It wasn't just a smile. Every time he said Avor, there was always a laughter with him. Okay? But with him, there was always not a shmeichel, but there was a laughing, a chuckle. Always with sneezdik, cover his mouth. Right? He'd laugh and he'd somehow cover his mouth. It shouldn't be. But there was always that laughter that he had with whatever it was. There was more than just a smile. It was pashta good laughter. And this week's parsha was Truma. Truma. We also said the first Mishnah in Brachis. Dort finds sich an what? So the shaykh is with Krishma and the Kohanim. You find that in this week's parsha. But Zeisa Truma. So one pshat was, what's Truma? Teira Mem. That's one pshat. That Rabbi Mangel said. Then there's another pshat that Truma stands for Trei Mimeya. Trei Mimeya. 2 from 100. Was the pshat 2 from 100? Was the 2 from 100? Huh? So you find in the Shema, the Erste Pasuk in Shema, Shema Yisrael Hashem Alkein Hashem Echad, has 25 letters. Baruch Shem has 24 letters. What is that? 49. Zusammen, Shema and Baruch Shem is 49. Wir sagten, the free is Shema, B'shachris, Memes HaKernish Shema Barvis, Memes HaKernish Shema B'shachris. Yeah? So in the morning you say, B'shabachu Ufkomecha, B'nacht sagt Mishma, and B'tag sagt Mishma. So you have again the Shema. So you have double 49 is Wiffel, 98. His mail is Trei Mimeya, felt Trei, from the 100, felt there's two letters, 2 things missing. So the Chazal, that what are those 2 things? That's the Mesiras Nefesh. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Echad, that's from Mesiras Nefesh. So one Mesiras Nefesh for the morning Shema, and the other Mesiras Nefesh for the evening Shema. So here again, in the Truma, in this week's Truma, you're connecting Shema with the Kohanim with Mesiras Nefesh. So, we all remember Fetter Benzin, his dedication, his Ibegebenkeit to the family, to our family, right? He never missed. There was a simcha to miss, and the Mesiras Nefesh he had for davening with the minyan and going to all the shiurim. There was definitely definitely was in there. So the Eibishter soll helfen. It's never too late to say that. That we should only know good things and happy and simchas, and he should have nachas from uns alle. Sure.
Unless Australia wants to talk. Yossi Smith, did you say something? And then Australia will say something.
Stop serving. Yossi's going to speak. No more serving. Wait. No, let everything wait. We ask everybody to please sit down. We have the best nephew, the best Einikol, Bubby's favorite, and everybody agrees with that. So we're going to ask Rabbi Yossi Cement, the head shliach for Richmond, Virginia, to speak a couple of words. The Rebbe Mont, Meisel Apel. You're a Meisel Apel Yid, so Baruch Hashem, Amen Hara. Everybody can come in from the kitchen, please.
All right, I could go? All right. Good evening, everybody. A couple of the things that I was going to say, Uncle Benny, you got me to it. You beat me to it. But nevertheless, they're all true statements. There are three different types of smiles. One smile was when you said something or did something silly. Zaidi let you know it, but he smiled for your effort. The second one was the one we just saw in the video. It was when somebody said something, Zaidi appreciated what was said or what was being done, and he gave you a real smile. Came with a chuckle. The third one is what I would call the laugh. Like Uncle Benny just said, the hand covers the mouth, and that was the level 3. That was the real laugh. You knew that it was funny, but you knew Zaidi really enjoyed it. There are a few times that I saw Zaidi upset. And in each instance, whoever he was upset at, or the situation that he was upset with, he would turn to the other person on the side and make a small joke. For example, many times in Menachem Nachum, Zaidi would get up and speak by the Kiddush. We used to daven there years ago. And before Zaidi would start speaking, of course, somebody was interrupting him. So he would turn to the person and say, Genukshin, head off. And then he would turn to the person on the other side and he would say, must be a good piece of herring they're talking about over there. About 10 years ago, I spent a night with Zaidi in the hospital. He was being treated for a particular illness. In the early hours of the morning, the nurse came in to check Zaidi's vitals. Well, Zaidi just fell asleep, so I asked the nurse, maybe you could come back in a little bit. And she said, I'm sorry, I need to check it now. So I said, it can't wait for later. She said, no, I need to check it now, but don't worry, he'll fall back asleep. I hear Zaidi in the background say, it's easy for you to say, your shift is almost over. You'll be going to sleep. She said, I'm sorry, Rabbi Friedman, I need to do it now. So Zaidi responded, I'm feeling okay. She says, but I need to validate that you're feeling okay. Zaidi turned to me and said, now that I'm up already, could you get me a coffee and a chocolate? Well, it happened with me and it happened with many others. I now understand what I thought to understand years ago, was that I never really saw Zaidi upset, frustrated, scared, or confused. These are feelings and emotions that most of us deal with every single day. Upset, frustrated, scared, confused, pretty common in everybody's life. In Australia, they can't hear. It's far. It's 11,000 miles. Even if you try to hide these feelings and emotions to protect the people you love, eventually someone somewhere is going to catch you and find you and say, there you go, you're human. I found you. Not Zaidi. Now think about that for a second. Who doesn't get upset? Who do you know for 30 years that never got upset at you, let alone at something? On the contrary, Zaidi was a man who made you feel better just with a smile. I ask you a question. Which is it? Zaidi didn't get upset and therefore smiled all the time? Or Zaidi smiled all the time and therefore didn't get upset? I don't know the answer, but I know that Zaidi smiled all the time. In times where you expected it and in times where you didn't expect it. Zaidi just smiled. Zaidi didn't ask much of his grandchildren, but one thing I know he wanted from all of his grandchildren was to respect what was important to him, which was the Torah and its mitzvahs. We all know that Zaidi was very proud of Bubby, his children, his grandchildren, and his great-grandchildren. But that never stopped him from expecting and wanting more of our Yiddishkeit and our Chassidishkeit. Zaidi passed away on Erev Shabbos Parshas Va'era. Yesterday we read Parshas Mishpatim. So since Zaidi passed away, we read Parshas Va'era, Boi, B'Shalach, Yisroi, and yesterday Mishpatim. In the last 4 parshas combined, the Bnei Yisrael received 91 mitzvahs, 89 according to the Rambam. 35 of them were mitzvahs aseh, and 56 of them were mitzvahs lois aseh. Why do I know these numbers? Because I was trying to find a clear connection from the last 4 weeks leading up to the Shloshim in our family. So I started to look at the numbers. At first glance, I was not able to find any glaring connection. When I tried to calculate how many family members with all of Zaidi and Bubby's children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and see if there was a simple connection, thanks to Mushka Rabashkin who helped me calculate it, it wasn't that easy, I found 2 things. 1, in Parshas Boi, Bnei Yisrael are given their first mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh. This mitzvah was given to the Bnei Yisrael before they left Mitzrayim. In Parshas Boi, we also see how Hashem strikes fear in the hearts of the Mitzrayim with the last 3 makas, and ultimately the Bnei Yisrael leave and are freed after 210 years in Mitzrayim. We're also given the mitzvah of Tefillin. Then in Parshas B'Shalach, we read about Kriyas Yamsuf, the splitting of the Red Sea. We read how Moshe and the Bnei Yisrael sang Az Yashir, and Miriam led the female ensemble. In Parshas Yisroi, we're taught about humility through the choosing of Har Sinai. We receive the Aseres Adibros, the 10 Commandments. And yesterday in Parshas Mishpatim, we're given the mitzvah of Kashrus. We're given the mitzvah of davening along with another 49 mitzvahs. Finally, the culmination of the 4 weeks, and the Bnei Yisrael say Nasa v'nishma, literally translated as we will do and we will hear, and understood as we will do before we understand. I started saying that I found 2 things when I started looking at the numbers. One was the number of mitzvahs and the small synopsis of the 4 parshas that I just gave. The other was that Zaidi and Bubby have Kenai Nahara 82 children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and that there's no simple connection between the 2, the parshas and the number of children. No simple connection, but a clue to how old Zaidi was. If you add Zaidi and Bubby to the number of the family members, it brings you to 84. Maybe that's a clue to Zaidi's age. I don't know. But who said anything about it needing to be simple? If it was as simple as 82 mitzvahs given over the last 4 weeks, it would be easy for us to say, everyone choose 1 mitzvah, and in Zaidi's honor, make this your particular mitzvah special to you and everybody around you. But Zaidi didn't want to make it that easy. I will suggest, as we said earlier, Zaidi always expected and wanted more out of our Yiddishkeit and Chassidishkeit. For some of us, taking on 1 mitzvah is a great start. For others, it wouldn't be good enough. Each of us according to what we can handle, but just a little more than we think we can do. I'm not suggesting a mitzvah challenge because we understand it. This would be taking on at least 1 mitzvah because we proclaimed yesterday after we read the Parsha, Nasa v'nishma. We will do it before we understand, not on condition that we understand. Ironically, as mentioned earlier, the first mitzvah given to the Jews, given to the Bnei Yisrael by Hashem, even before we left Har Sinai, is the mitzvah that we read last Shabbos, and the first mitzvah that we received after Zaidi passed away is the mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh. Tomorrow night, we will welcome the month of Adar, Adar Aleph. The month of Adar is supposed to signify Simcha. Anyone who's been around our family in the last month knows we could really use 2 Adars this year. And Zaidi and Chaim arranged it as only they can. We have been told over and over and over again this past month, and nothing against you, Uncle Benny, that we should meet Norev Simchas. Well, we now have an opportunity to meet on Simchas. Mishenichnas Adar Marbim Besimcha. Not to heal or to move on, but to start to live using the maps and directions that was provided to us by the best teachers, the most sound role models, and the exceptional wisdom that we received from our patriarch and his closest, most trusted advisor-in-law. Our family has been tested. Some of us have been pushed to the brink. And we don't always say the right things. But as I look around this room, and I know who's watching in Australia and in Israel and anywhere else, I know this is a challenge we will overcome only together. Let's welcome the month of Adar, Aleph, with a new and improved perspective of each other, a rejuvenated feeling of love and compassion for others. And let's always remember to smile. Zaidi did it all the time. Let's try and do it some of the time. May we be reunited with Zaidi, Bubby, and Chaim in Yerushalayim with the coming of Mashiach speedily. Now, that was my speech. There is another thing I want to talk about. Some of you know about it and some of you don't know about it. Yesterday was Kavi Kranz's birthday. Excuse me. Kranz is called confusing. Kavi New's birthday. Next year is his bar mitzvah. Yes. A couple of the cousins have got together to start what we're going to call the Zaidi and Bubby Birthday Fund. It's quite simple. It's quite simple. David, I didn't approach you yet, so don't laugh. It's a group of us that have gotten together, and if you want to contribute, it's pretty easy to do so. The concept is very simple. Bubby always made birthday cakes, and Zaidi never forgot to give a birthday present. I'm not really sure who didn't forget and who didn't forget to give. However, what we want to continue is that every single grandchild, child and grandchild and great-grandchild always receives a birthday gift that would come in honor of Zaidi and Bubby's name. It's quite simple. And again, if you want to talk to me about joining in the fund, you can see me right after. But that's all I wanted to say. And Kavi Nu, your gift is on the way. Thank you.
Gluten-free, Mr. Gluten-free! Anyone else? Anyone else with tea? Yeah, the rabbis there want tea. Anyone else? Gas money going back, couple of grapes. Say a couple of words. Say a couple of words.
Forget about that. I didn't even know that was until last when I walked in, so Sharon what's his name? Relic. He says the Kabbalah over there. Say it. You say it. So I say, and I have to. That's what's good. I listened to it about 40 times. I had no choice. What I listen to further consideration, I said, I gotta do it. What do I do? Then we went to the seminary. I was in the seminary 30 seconds before listening to papers on me, what do you want me to do? So the guy gives me the kid, more or less the same shit. These are stuck
Yeah. Determined that there was nothing wrong. Like the message of check what it does and everything. And it's not a match. This
Can you email it to me?
I didn't stop that thing. I'm going to stop it.
No, the video that they play.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. It's the video that you play. Yes.
Where's what?
Yes. This is only one cloud. Yeah, the father's father. And your video, on your clip on YouTube.
This is in the Yichud room. Give me a bracha.
Once it's over, what do I do? Oh, and how do you watch
Hey, I behaved here. So that. I made from Israel, I think. Yossi, thank you, sir. Let me see my phone. How it moves.
Really gets sick of it.
I'm really good. It's like, you know,
Really gets sick of it. Bubbles. He goes straight to the head.
okay.
7 hours.
No, I don't want to be. Zei de what?